Welcome to the Lazy CEO podcast, where Jim Schlexer, author of Great CEOs Are Lazy and founder of the CEO Project, features compelling experts and topics for CEOs of mid to large-size companies. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another Lazy CEO podcast. My name is Jim Schlexer. I'm the CEO of the CEO Project, and I am your host today. Today, we have an awesome guest, a friend of the family, and a guy we've had a relationship with for a while, super creative, and in competition for the best glasses with Seth Godin. Andrew Davis, welcome. Andrew.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm glad you appreciate the glasses. You know what? These are Al Roker's glasses. I saw them on the Today Show, and I was like, I want those, but in orange. And here I am, wearing them every day. So
I actually talked when I had Seth on. I said, "So when are you going to do the deal with Warby Parker?" Right? And he goes,
Yes.
No, we got a deal. They won't go into, business consulting and speaking, and I'm not going to go into the glasses business.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Well, I think Godin glasses would be a great brand.
Oh,
I'd buy those.
Right?
Come on, sign me up.
Right. I wasn't kidding about a Warby Parker deal. I mean, when it happens, he better give me credit for it. So,
awesome.
Andrew, is a super creative guy. He came out of media. Spent time with the Muppets, had a digital marketing agency that he sold. And now what he does is he is primarily a speaker. So he gets in front of audiences, he inspires them and educates them and entertains them and, and helps them go off and do great things. He's spoken to our CEO group before and actually a couple of our clients as well. And they've all had, remarkably good stuff to say about him. So
that's kind. Thank you.
So tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do. That was my thing, but give us your spiel. Give us a couple of paragraphs on Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, my focus today is helping people kind of challenge the conventional business and marketing wisdom by really rethinking some of the things that we've always been taught and traveling around the world and teaching those to people and writing books. But yeah, you were right. I got my start in the media business. I worked in television right out of college. Then I worked for the Jim Henson Company, which is actually where I learned how marketing and business really works. Because the truth is, at the Jim Henson Company, they really don't make much money on selling media properties. They selling Sesame Street as a nonprofit doesn't make any money. What makes money is creating content that people fall in love with and characters that people can't get enough of, so that they can license all of those characters. And it was a real education in the power of media to inspire people to buy things they didn't know they needed. And after that, I worked at a series of startups in the startup boom of the late 1990s. I started my own agency with a journalist friend of mine named Jim Costco in the early 2000s. Then we sold that in 2012. And then since then, I've just been traveling the world and writing books and kind of challenging myself to find out how things really work in the new world we live in.
Love it. By the way, University of Maryland grad, Henson.
Yes.
You even got a statue of him out front.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been to the statue. I mean, honestly, my dream job was working for the Muppets. I wanted to work for the Muppets from the time I was a 10-year-old, and I saw Sesame Street for the first time when I moved to the United States, and I thought I want to do this. So yeah, going to University of Maryland and seeing the statue and all the Kermit-related stuff that's there is a pilgrimage that any Muppet fan has to make.
So one of the things I know you talk about is sort of differentiation, and so I was thinking about the classic website or description of the company, and I wrote, we're an industry-leading firm that provides high-quality solutions to solve complex business problems. So maybe you could just start with that, like the marketing, right?
That's right. Yeah, look, we live in a world where I think, being different is something that's really important. And we tell people to be different all the time. We've got to look different. We've got to, really get people to notice us and get more awareness in the marketplace. But the truth is, in the last 6 years, I've spent a lot of time looking at what really differentiates you in the marketplace today. And the truth is, yeah, looking and being, sounding different is great, but actually being different is the real true differentiator. So if you can create an experience that feels different for your clients and your customers, that's where you can win over an industry. And there's some amazing examples that I've seen over the last 6 years of people doing very simple things that just transform the way the customer or client feels about the business and their relationship with the brand. And those are the things that really matter. That's what makes you, stand out in the marketplace. Now, to be really clear, Jim, what happens is if you create a good client or customer experience, most of the brands that are successful in doing that start marketing that experience as the differentiator.
Say the marketing writes itself at that point, right?
Exactly. And so many people spend all this time saying, we need more leads, we need more customers, we need to raise awareness to get more people in the door or onto the website to buy the stuff. And the truth is, if you have a bad customer experience, you're just shoving people through a bad experience that at the end of the day isn't going to increase your margins or get you more customers. It's just going to force you to raise more awareness and get more, leads in the funnel. And so for me, I really truly believe the way to start, transforming your business is starting with the very next customer you get and really rethinking the experience by differentiating it from everybody else in the marketplace.
So I love the idea of becoming an attractive force versus, pushing this big heavy rock up the hill all the time, right? And, let the energy flow in towards you versus you flow out. So why don't you give us some, how do you do that, right? I mean, everybody, it sounds great, Andrew. Do me, how do we do this?
Yeah, look, let me give you two just quick concepts that you just have to embrace, I think, to understand how what I call the loyalty loop works. So you first need to understand the moment of inspiration. The moment of inspiration is an instant in time that sends you on a journey you never expected. Okay, so to buy anything, it could be a car, right? Like you get your lease end notification. Well, that right there, that lease end letter that Nissan sends you is an instant in time that's going to send you on a journey to buy a new vehicle, right? That's a moment of inspiration. Now, a moment of commitment is the instant that you trade money, data, or time, for information to support a cause or to buy a product or a service. The big change in the moment of commitment today is that we need to understand that the sale isn't the only moment of commitment. If you fill out an online form, if you set up a calendar appointment with someone, if you ask for a quote from someone as a consumer, you are trading data for an experience, and that data is worth something. So like if you have a form on your website with 3, 5, 7 fields that a prospect has to fill out, that just think of that as $70 in information they're handing you. Now you need to think of the experience you provide after that as $70 worth of value. They need to feel that this is different. So if you understand those two concepts, just the moment of inspiration and the moment of commitment, what you want to try to do is build a real experience. Let me give you an example. Let's talk about Rackspace. So maybe you're familiar with Rackspace, Jim. I don't know if everybody else is.
But go ahead, please.
Yeah, so Rackspace was founded in the late 1990s. It was an internet service provider, and they provided web hosting in San Antonio, Texas. And it was started by a guy named Richard Yu. And if you guys can just think back, everybody on this call or the listeners, I want you to think back to the 1990s when you were going to buy your first web host. You were just worried about feeds and speeds and will it be up, that's and how much is it going to cost? Like this is a commodity service. And Richard realized the very same thing. And he was having trouble growing his business because most internet service providers at the time were local, right? So you would find, Bob and his wife, Betty, who owned a little, web hosting company in your neighborhood, and they had a little server room, and you could call Bob or Betty at 2 a.m. You could page them on your pager if something went down, and you could rush over there and help out. And when Richard wanted to expand Rackspace from just being a San Antonio-based company, he was like, how am I going to compete with these people? So what he did at first was he was like, well, it's volume, right? I have to get more calls out there, convince more people at the right price point to transfer over. So he put together a massive call center of salespeople that were just dialing for dollars every day, and they were having trouble getting people to actually, become customers. And he soon realized that the reason they didn't want to move is they had a relationship with just the people at their local, ISP, and they felt like, yeah, I don't want my service to be in San Antonio if I'm in New York, or Dallas if I'm in New York. I want to be able to run down there and help Bob fix it. So CTOs were saying, I'm not doing this. So what he did was he transformed the business by using what I call loyalty loop drivers. And there are 6 of them, which we'll go through quickly. But the first one that he used was scaling camaraderie. He realized that, okay, if the call center isn't working, I have to act like I'm a small business and build a relationship with these people. So he divided up his entire call center into what he called teams of 4, and he gave them each an individual phone number. So that, like, the team had a phone number. There was a senior support person, a junior support person, an account executive, and what was the last person? I'm forgetting what the last, it was junior, senior. Anyway, there's 4 people. Oh, customer service. That was the 4th one. And basically, they would answer the phone as if they were the small business. And all of a sudden they were selling just hundreds and hundreds of contracts a day. People built deep relationships with these 4 people. And even if one of the people on the team left, they got another job, people would still call that person on their cell phone and just say, hey man, I miss chatting with you. And all of a sudden their business exploded. They started to call this at Rackspace fanatical support. And so by the early 2000s, the business exploded. At one point, it was the world's largest web hosting company, bigger than Amazon, bigger than everybody on the planet. It was a $6 billion company when Richard left in 2006. And I can just tell you that in the years since he left, they lost sight of their focus on fanatical support and scaling camaraderie. They followed technology and the newest, biggest booms and the buzzwords and all the stuff that they thought would make them different. And in fact, just recently in the San Antonio newspaper, there was an article all about how they lost their way, and it's pretty much a disaster of a company. And all they did was scale camaraderie. That's one of the easiest things you can do with your customers or even your team members to transform your business and start building a loyalty loop after a moment of commitment.
Spot. I did a fair amount of research on customer retention in software as a service businesses, and kind of a whole scholarly thing on that topic. And it turns out that and it was really about relationship and how important relationship is. And there's ways you can manage it, right? So it's probably very similar to some of the things you found. And that drives retention way more than the technical. I mean, technical factors, like it has to be good enough, right?
Sure, exactly.
The retention comes on all the other stuff.
100%. Yeah. In my research, Jim, I don't know what you found, but I found that whether you're a consumer or B2B brand, if you can introduce every consumer to a minimum of 4 people at your company through the course of the relationship you're building with them after they've even just signed up to get your newsletter, you have a higher chance of retaining them longer. And they'll spend more. And it just takes 4 people, so instead of your newsletter that they just signed up for coming from, shop@ourcompany.com, if it came from Jim, and that's the first person you're introducing me to, and then Sharon is introduced 3 weeks later as someone who's in charge of buying for the company, and Sharon's picks for the month are these 3 things. Now I'm getting a relationship with Sharon. I can tell you another story on the consumer side quickly that uses scaling camaraderie. I call it reverse personalization, by the way, where you're actually, instead of trying to personalize your content for every consumer that you're interacting with, you're personalizing the experience from the inside of your company out. There's a company, I'm a big boater, so I boat a lot in the summer and I love boats and that's my hobby. And there's a company that has a software product where you can book slips for your boat, if you're going to go somewhere on vacation. And it's a really cool, experience, a digital experience. It's software as a service. Well, here's the thing. They used to send their email from a woman named Becky. Okay. And it just was Becky at, and then she would sign at the bottom in the newsletter, normal newsletter, like Becky. Well, the number one question they got at every boat show at their booth was, hey, can I meet Becky?
Is Becky a real person?
Becky's a real person, and she started to have to come to these, and they would have meet and greets. They would say, Becky will be here from 1 to 2 o'clock. Guess what? People lined up to say, oh my gosh, you chose my boat's name as one of the top 10 boats. And she was like, that's nice. She wasn't signing autographs. She wasn't like a celebrity in the sense, but people wanted to actually know Becky. And when Becky left, she got a new job. You know, everybody was like, what? Who's going to send the newsletter? And they've started now with the new person who sends it, whose name, by the way, I don't know yet, because I don't get the I haven't got enough emails from her. But that's my point. If you can use reverse personalization and scaling camaraderie, you can build a deeper relationship with your clients and customers very quickly in a really meaningful way.
I love the rule of 4. I can imagine the job description or the job posting. Must have good personal service skills, good writing skills, and must be named Becky.
Yes, exactly. We're looking for Becky. Like, if your name's not Becky, I'm sorry.
That's funny. You also talk about sort of in some of your work, anticipation, honeymoon, and inspirational moments in here. And I'd like you to go through all those, but the one that really triggered for me was inspirational moments, because Disney was in the news for other reasons, but they engineer those inspirational moments, right? So when the line gets long or that's when Mickey Mouse shows up, right? It is super engineered and designed. So talk to us about like that cycle of anticipation, pre-sale, honeymoon, like we just became a client or we just began and then sort of the magical moments that you drop in.
Yeah. So I want you to think of the loyalty loop as a slinky, not just a simple loop, right? So it's like what you're doing at the top of the slinky, you're using very small but rapid interactions to build trust with your consumer very rapidly. So you're starting at the top where they're a doubter. They're like, this is going to be like every other experience. But very quickly, you're looping them through a series of experiences where they feel different. Like you could attach an emoji to every one of the interactions you have, and that will tell you how they're feeling. How does this make them feel when they get this text message from their brand? Are they annoyed? Well, that's not good. Like you got to find a better way. Or are they overjoyed or high-fiving each other, right? So what I found was there were 6 things you could do after any moment of commitment. The first one is raising anticipation. Can you get them more excited about the next step in the journey than they are about the current step they're on, right? Can you really raise anticipation for the experience they're about to go through or get with you? So if you ship a product, everybody wants free shipping and they want it now. The truth is, that's not true. They're more excited about a product they have to wait for if you're willing to raise anticipation for them. If you can say, it's going to take 5 days, but here's what we're going to do over the next 5 days. I am going to send you an email every day telling you where your package is, but more importantly, to show you some of the features you can't wait to look at or get or use with this thing or this apparel, right? Like that's what you want to try to do, raise anticipation. The second one is maximize the honeymoon phase. This is all about understanding when your client or customer is at the peak of their enthusiasm so that you can use that to leverage that to get better referrals, to get bigger referrals, to get great reviews online. Amazon sends me these like, hey, how was your experience with blah? Like I never respond to those because it was 7 days ago that I got that thing and you just sent it and I forgot I even ordered paper clips. Like that's not something I'm going to review. But Rent the Runway is a great example of this. We can talk about it if you want, but Rent the Runway understands that it's about when you experience the moments of joy and the moments of inspiration that actually have built their business into a billion-dollar brand. The next one is the one you were asking about. It's re-inspire. One of the problems we have after we get someone to commit to something, even if it's just the first purchase, is we forget that we need to re-inspire them to go on the next loop in their journey. And so re-inspiring them using that idea that you're going to send them on a journey they never expected is crucial. And it's the people who do it best don't focus on creating a list of products that you might also want to purchase. They actually are focused on creating content where the consumer or the client thinks they're in control of their destiny and the idea to buy something new was theirs. So they're sending an email where they go, I would like to run every day, maybe I should buy shoes. That's the kind of leap you need to make, instead of saying you should also buy shoes. So re-inspire is the third one. Then the fourth one is really easy. After any moment of inspiration that you have, when you say, oh my gosh, I want to buy that, or I need a stick of gum, the first thing that pops into your mind is called the prime brand. Well, you need to then like have a trigger question that you need to help answer. So the first thing you can do after every moment of inspiration is answer their trigger questions. This happens a ton in consumer services. Like we're trying to get a new roof on our house. And every time I fill out these forms online, the thing I'm worried about is these people are going to put me in a sales loop, and I'm going to get a call in 5 minutes, and they're going to want an appointment, and it's going to be an awful experience, right? So all I want to know is, how much do you think my roof is going to cost, right? So if you could answer that trigger question before I fill out the form, I'm going to trust you a lot more. If you could say, give me just a little bit of information about your house, I think it's going to cost about this. Do you want to fill out the form? Now I'm ready to commit to the relationship. Quickly, I'll go through the last two. Well, scaling camaraderie, we already did. And then the last one is removing friction. And this is the most underutilized one. We think that if brand A has 5, form fields on their form, we should have 5 on ours. We should ask them also, where did you hear about us, right? If you can take that one field out that everybody else seems to have, you can make the experience feel different. They don't identify it as, oh, it was less forms, but they're like, this brand seems easier to work with. And the people that do this really well ask for the bare minimum and then use the loyalty loop to quickly get a conversation going. So in the B2B space, the average B2B brand asks for 11, I'm doing with my finger, 11 form fields.
Here, there's your one.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. They ask to sign, they need 11 form fields filled out to attend a webinar. Like, that's insane. Now, if you just say, hey, sign up for the webinar, give me your email address, that sounds easy all of a sudden. And if the response I get is, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you signed up. We'd love to know your first name so that when we see you log in, we know you attended. You can get a conversation. They're like, no problem, it's Jim, right? Like, that's when you're building a real relationship. And that's the power of the loyalty loop.
Awesome.
That was long. I'm so sorry. I hope
no. Love it. The content was awesome. It's all these little things, and I think you answered one of my questions about, does it work also B2B? But most of your examples are B2B, not B2C, interestingly enough.
It works B2B, absolutely. It also, all of these concepts are really easy to see in the B2C world. And I have plenty of examples of those too, if you want one.
Well, no, most of our listeners, most of our members are B2B, not B2C. So I'm glad you went in that direction. So referrals is always, hot topic, right? And it feels like somewhere in this cycle of, at moments of peak inspiration, there's opportunities for referral, but it's so like icky, right? To like, hey, if you like that, how about you
anyone?
All your friends, right? Like, so how do you do that and do it like elegantly and well?
I think the two things you crucially have to understand is, first, you have to understand the moments of inspiration that eventually lead to a purchase. Most marketers and brands today, especially in the B2B space, aren't aware of the true moment of inspiration. Like, I'll give you an example. If you solve accounting software, you think that, most people start to look for your accounting software by searching the keywords like best accounting software for medium-sized businesses, right? And they think, oh, they're doing an audit, they want to see what's out there. The truth is, the moment of inspiration is going to sound very, very different. When you really boil down to it, it's going to be maybe a growing pain, right? We all of a sudden got to $20 million and QuickBooks can't handle what we're trying to do anymore, right? The moment of inspiration is, holy crap, we just screwed up our inventory tracking. And it turns out our accounting software is to blame. We've got to get something else. That's the moment of inspiration. Right. So when you understand the moment of inspiration, you can do a much better job of truly asking for the referral. Because what you're trying to set up in the mind of the people that you're asking for the referral from at their peak enthusiasm is you just want them to understand that if you have a colleague or a friend that says, holy smokes, we've outgrown QuickBooks, your answer should be, have you ever tried SAP, right? Like whatever your brand is. And so the true opportunity when you're maximizing the honeymoon phase isn't to actually ask for the referral. It's to seed in their mind that if you're happy with what we did, then you should know that anytime you hear a colleague or a friend having problem X, I'd be happy to walk them through potential solutions, because that's the true moment of inspiration that they're going to be talking about a cocktail hour at the next accounting conference with their buddies, right? Yeah. That's the real key. And the second thing I wanted to bring out about referrals feeling icky that you can really work on doing is instead of asking for the referral, ask for a testimonial by actually regurgitating their thank you email or thank you voicemail or thank you note as something you want to use to promote the brand for a very specific reason. Because that's when they start thinking, oh, you know what? They're so happy that I'm happy. It's like it's reverse asking for a referral. You're essentially saying, can I use you as a reference? And it makes a big difference in their perception of the ask. It's not, can you think of anyone, send me 3 leads? It's, I'd like to use this for a specific purpose for people who are in this kind of situation. Is that okay? And you're seeding again that exact problem you want them to hear later and refer you. Okay. So those are the 2 things.
So it's almost like the model is educate them on identifying the opportunity, and then hopefully the penny drops at that point. Like, hey, this is one of those things that
exactly. And what you need to do is be sure that you're re-inspiring them with that language later on, right? Because that might last for 2 weeks, but if there's a big accounting convention coming up, you actually can send them a re-inspiration note that says, hey, I know you're going to the accounting convention. You're probably going to see lots and lots of your friends there, Joan. Like, if you have a chance and somebody says, oh, we're struggling because we just hit 20 million and our inventory screwed up with QuickBooks, insert their moment of inspiration there, because that's going to give you the best lead possible. Please feel free to put them in touch with me directly, and I'm happy to walk them through if I can help.
And I suppose this works if there's multiple trigger points, right? So for one of us, we do CEO peer groups, obviously, your advisory boards. We go, new CEO. That's one of ours.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
I just became
one.
a CEO. I'm like, what the heck do I do for a living now? And,
exactly.
We can help with that, right? So
that's exactly right. So yeah, I'd place that in everybody's mind that's in the CEO project, that anytime you hear your peer got a new job as a CEO, one of the first things they should think of is, let's chat with Jim.
Awesome. Cool. Or Sharon or Bill, because we've got lots of people they can talk to now.
No, that's true.
Okay.
That's scaling camaraderie, by the way, Jim. That was good.
What's that?
That's scaling camaraderie. That was good.
Yeah, actually, you gave me a couple ideas there that we're going to start doing some things in that space. It was great.
I love it.
And I'm going to have to change my email that the newsletter comes from. It's buy more now, and I got to just change that.
Yeah, I'd start there. That's a good start.
Yeah, good to go. Anything that in this space that I didn't ask that I should have asked you about, Andrew?
Oh, that's always a good question. I think I would say finding the moment of inspiration is the hardest thing you will ever do as a leader. It's really difficult for you to kind of mine your current customers for what really truly inspired the journey to find you. A lot of times people will ask simple questions like, how did you find us? Well, that's not, they're going to say, I did a Google search or whatever, right? Like a friend told me about you. That's not helpful. What you want to know is what was the emotion that actually triggered the journey, because emotion leads to action. And if you can understand that, you will be able to, send more and more referrals your way and business your way. So I found and uncovered the super secret question that helps uncover this. If you take the next customer that signs on the dotted line, the next client that signs a contract with you, as the CEO, I recommend you call them, welcome them on board, thank them for their business, and you ask them this one simple question. What inspired you to ... Like, what inspired you to go on the journey, which is complicated, to find new accounting software? And if they say, oh, we were thinking about it for a long time, say, well, no, but what inspired you? What moment did you say, we've got to do this now? And they'll start telling you a story. They say, we're in a meeting. We had a new CFO come on board. He hates the current software. We've hated it for a long, and now you'll get the story. Oh, it's the moment of inspiration is the new CFO hates the old software. That's the emotion we need to capture. And documenting those and sharing those with your team will help your sales, your marketing team, your branding team, and the business really understand what truly motivates people to buy. So that's the super secret question I'd start using on your calls.
Not so secret anymore, but okay, thank you.
No, well, it's secret for you guys and the podcast listeners only.
There you go. Awesome. So, Andrew, if somebody wanted to engage you to talk to their team,
Sure.
their audience, their massive arena full of friends, how would they find you? How would they get a hold of you?
That's so nice. My website is akadrewdavis.com, like also known as drewdavis.com instead of Andrew Davis. And you can find me there, but I'm on LinkedIn a ton. So you can always look up Andrew Davis and you'll see the guy with the orange glasses and message me there. Those are the two easiest ways to find me. And my phone number's on the website. So call me anytime if I can help.
You heard that. When you're in jail at 2 a.m., you know who to call.
That's right. You go, aka drewdavis.com. Yeah, I'm going to call this guy. I'll be there for
we'll
you.
just end on something fun. Who's your favorite Muppet?
Oh, my favorite. I love this question. My favorite Muppet is Grover.
Grover.
I do a really bad Grover imitation. If you want to hear it, this is really for the podcast.
You have no
listeners.
choice now, man. Like you got to do it.
Okay, ready? Here we go. Near, far, near, far. That's it. That was literally it. I like Super Grover too.
This was just way fun, Andrew. I really appreciate it, and look forward to working with you in the future. And now people know how to get a hold of you if they want to work with you going forward as well. So thanks, everybody. We will see you next time on the Lazy CEO podcast.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
This podcast is brought to you by the CEO Project. At the CEO Project, we work with CEOs to help them grow their business. And our members represent billions of dollars of revenue and profit. And frankly, amongst all of us, we've probably made every mistake in the book, including some you haven't made yet. So if you want to learn from the experience of a bunch of really seasoned CEOs, we're a great place to hang out. In this podcast, what you're going to hear are some of those ideas, concepts, and things that are just going to help you on your journey. If you want to find out more, reach out to us at theceoproject.com, or you can contact me personally at jim@theceoproject.com. Happy listening.
Thanks for listening to the Lazy CEO podcast. We'll see you next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.